Welcome to Black Belt Beauty Radio. Get ready. It's time to rise.
It starts with ourselves. I say we're masterpieces and we're works in progress, right? So whoever you are today, I can look back at my 17-year-old self, dad goes to work, never comes back. And I could now look back and go, oh, well, how did I handle that? And I've never judged myself for how have I processed the death of a father unexpectedly. But we could look back at our, different times of our life and say, oh, you're such an idiot. Why did you do that? Or why didn't you get her number? Or why did you say that? Or, we can second guess ourselves till the cows come home. And it's a disservice. It's like you're doing the best you can at every stage of our life with the awareness you have at that stage of your life. Right. So so that's the one thing is to start with is kindness and compassion towards yourself. You're doing the best you can within the realm of your current state of awareness. Yeah. The second thing is to start to look at what are the consistent woes, right? Like we're going to stub our toe one day. We're going to have menstrual cramps the next. We're going to feel cold or have a cold another day. And these things are sort of transitory and they're not fun. And we get, down and depressed or worried. And okay, that's part of being human, right? But where your opportunity for real growth and inquiry is, what's the consistent story? Is it in the realm of relationships? Like, why do I struggle? Why do I always pick the douchebags? Or why am I always left alone? Or why do I not feel loved? Or is it around finances? Like, why do I not seem to be fulfilling on my potential? Or is it around health? Like, why do I always seem to be sick? Or is it around rejection? Why was I the last to be picked for the football team at school, and now I'm the one who doesn't get the promotion at work? Or, there's going to be a thread through people's lives. So that's the treasure trove, right? That's the pathway to pursue is what's the consistent theme, the story? And then we want to start to look at what is the associated emotion with that? Meaning if I'm the one that was not picked, or my friends are getting married and they're having babies and I'm not, and okay, that's the story. But what's it really eliciting as an experience? And in that case, the experience might be something like, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, I'm not who I should be. And it's in that realm of self-deprecating narrative, right? So that the feeling would be of just sadness, perhaps, and so we want to start to look at that, and then we can inquire into the validity of what we assert to be true about ourselves because of those circumstances, right? So if all my friends are getting married and they got kids, and all my friends are successful and they've got their own business, and I'm still doing 9 to 5 and earning okay, so what? Like you just pointed out facts. There's no suffering in facts, right? Reality does not contain suffering. All human suffering is a byproduct of our interpretation of circumstance. So the opportunity to get freedom, to come back to your question, is look at the consistent theme. What is the story that is eliciting your personal constraint? I'm not good enough. I'm not valued. It's something in, one of those sort of, it's usually pretty short, it's pretty succinct. And then you get to really inquire into the truth of that fundamental way that you identify yourself. And I promise you, it's not a truth, it's how you feel. But feelings, as I tell people, are a lousy indicator of truth, right? Yeah. So just because you feel you're not good enough does not mean that ipso facto you are not good enough. It's just something that's been there forever and you've adopted it as a truth. It's your reality, it's your personal reality, your personality. Yeah. But what's, like I was literally talking to someone this morning about one of my quotes. I say, who would you be in the absence of your concerns? So if you remove that constraint, who would you be? And his response was even now my shoulders dropped, I feel so much lighter, I feel free. I'm like, there you go, you're getting closer to your true nature. So hopefully that gives a little bit of a blueprint for people to follow.
It's beautiful. No, it's powerful. I meditate every morning. This is a quick story. I have a relationship with highest self, future self. She's my soulmate. She's everything. Call her my muse, right? And years ago, I don't remember what I was troubled with when I was, moving into meditation, but channeled the words from her, the message of, hey, Rox, that's how she talks to me. Nothing means anything except the meaning you decide to give to it. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
means anything except the meaning you decide to give to it. And it was an
Yeah.
immediate emotional neutralizer. It helped me to self-regulate and continues to do so. Because when the
Yeah.
mind starts to, run and get carried away with things, it is that helps me come back to, and it's essentially what you just said so eloquently, so beautifully, so powerfully. It isn't necessarily the truth. It's just how you were, perceiving it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's the difference between the lens that I view life, which is my personal reality,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's what's present in the absence of that, which I would assert is truth, right? So when it's one of my shortest quotes to say, "No you, no problem," right? So,
I love that.
right? So, every problem, if you notice every problem that you have, you're there. Right. So
That's
like
so good.
if you want a real
Oh
quick
God.
access to why you have problems, it's because you're around. Right. So
Oh, I appreciate that so much. That's so good.
yeah. So that
Yeah.
I'm really, in the most loving, compassionate way, I'm not getting rid of people's problems. I'm getting rid of them,
Yeah.
who thinks they have problems. And that's an entirely different approach, which is, as far as I know, the only person who does that. It's very unique and it's very liberating because there's experts out there who will help you all day and charge your credit cards as long as you're willing to pay
Hmm.
to help you solve your problems.
Yeah.
But that becomes strategy, it becomes solutions, but nothing's actually changed. It's like changing the window dressing in a storefront, but the back of the store is full of mold and has got rat infestation, whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, it looks pretty out front, but you haven't actually dealt with the core issues of why you get sick, why your relationships don't work, why you don't fulfill on your value, or you have the financial revenue that you think you deserve, or
Hmm.
all of those things are byproducts of the dissonance. That's the relationship to your own inadequacies, insecurities, and scarcities versus the abundance and the boundlessness of your true essence. So I introduce people to the limitlessness of who they are, and then
Hmm.
life will catch up at the appropriate time. So for me, people look at my life and they're, dude, like you have such an amazing life and this, and they see Instagram or,
Hmm.
and I'm not like doing it to show off. It's just an extension of me and it's showing people what's possible.
Hmm.
But it's not so much that I work hard. People say, oh, you just got to work hard. And
Hmm.
I get it. You got to be disciplined is the word I liked, but
Thank you.
it's more a frequency. I function from a particular resonance
Hmm.
and then life will meet me there. And if my resonance is inadequacy or some sort of shortcoming or a berating narrative I have about myself, well, life will meet me there too. And, I'll wonder, why did that person leave me? Or why did I not get the interview? Or why am I feeling like tired and apathetic? And well, that's because that's the frequency I'm associating myself with. Conversely, when I tap into my divine nature, which is boundless, limitless, and inherent value,
Hmm.
and then life's like, oh, okay, cool. You want to play that game? Then we'll start showing up, miracles that are just kind of effortless. Like I just
Yeah.
was doing a retreat in the UK, and it was just one miracle after the next. My whole trip to London, it was just insane, and that's my subjective experience.
Yeah.
And yet, objectively, it made perfect sense because, well, why wouldn't I be open to miracles? So
Yes.
it's
So
about,
good.
frequency precedes form is what I tell people. Most people are trying to change form.
Hmm.
And I'm like, no, if you shift who you are at the deepest vibration of your true nature, and you can only do that by removing the shackles. And that's a process because most people don't even know what their shackles are, right? So we come back to compassion, patience, and kindness. But as you remove those constraints and limitations, you reveal the boundless frequency that is your divine nature. And then just like looking in a mirror, life will reflect to you that newfound vibration.
Oh, it's so good. I love that you speak on frequency. So I have a poetry book coming out called Magnetic Feminine, and I often
Nice.
share. Thank you. I share on my Instagram stories. I'll create just kind of visual art, and it's always about, for me, because everything in life really, it's like frequency and essence. Right. And
Mm-hmm.
so I really, really connect with your conversations around frequency, and even on my arm, this is a mantra that came to me, and I don't normally speak about it on the podcast, but it's just too perfect not to insert here. But came to me about 8 years ago. I am the maestro. The universe is my orchestra. It's written in French. My
Mm-hmm.
life is my symphony.
Wow.
I It's pretty special. Like
Beautiful.
thank you. But it
That's
really
beautiful. That came
does.
to you, or that's something you read? That's something you
No.
downloaded?
Yeah, I
I'm the
downloaded
maestro. The universe is
my
my,
orchestra. My
and
life.
my life is my symphony.
Yeah, ma vie est mon symphonie. My life is my
Oh.
symphony. So it's essentially saying what you're saying in the sense that, like, hey,
Mhm.
this is just me and how I feel about it and how I move through my life and really my experience in life, and that it's what you are emitting that will
Yeah.
be expanded. And then
Yeah.
this is where, to me, real autonomy actually comes in, because then it's this realization, or, not necessarily realization for me at this point, but it's this constant reminder that you have agency and that you are actually creating your life. Like, where are you at
Yeah.
right now? And if this doesn't feel good, let's check in and ask ourselves the questions that, we need to ask ourselves to put ourselves back into that frequency that is going to feel good,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Why? Let me ask you. Why did it come through in French? Is that part of your heritage, or do you have
No.
spirit guides? My spirit
I mean,
angels just
everything
speak
is
to me in
just
French. Damn it! I had to learn.
I don't. It's a great question, and it was so long ago. I mean, I speak a little French. I actually can understand more than I can speak. I lived in Paris for a while and went to school there, artistic academy. But yeah, I don't know. It's actually, people think it's a tattoo. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
It's not. I just write it every single day, and I
Oh, you
have
do?
yeah. And the
Wow.
reason why is because you get a tattoo and it's just on you.
And
But
you
for
forget
me,
about it. Yeah.
exactly. But to me,
Yeah.
it's just like I'm coming into these words, and actually it's a good segue, because I know that you're all about quotes, beautiful, powerful quotes. You write in
Yeah.
quotes, and like, even just, you said frequency. What did you say?
Receives
Frequency.
more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I feel I say that words cast spells. That's my,
Yeah.
and I have your quotes here because I don't want to ruin them. Words are the wardrobe to the soul. And that's
Yes.
one of yours that just, I
Yeah.
love, because
Yeah.
actually, I'm going to let you expand on that. Why are words the wardrobe to the soul?
Well, just like you said, I mean, I love, that first of all, I love that you generate that quote on your arm every day, because it does speak to the power of creation, right? Like, we tend to think about when you first fall in love with somebody, like, they're at the forefront of your mind. There's a presence, right? Both in terms of their absence or their presence with you. Even in their absence, you're thinking about them. When am I going to hear from them? You text them. There's an excitement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very generative experience of love.
Yeah.
And then maybe you get more serious, you move in together, and before you know it, you're sort of taking each other for granted.
Yeah.
Right? There's this sort of integration, which can have its own, sort of experience of love that is perhaps, I don't want to in any way belittle it, but there can be an integration that's also beautiful. Like, there's a comfort that can come with that too, right? Like, it's just they're an extension of you.
Right.
I would never want anyone to be taken for granted, but anyway, you get the point.
Yes.
So as it relates to, wardrobe, words being the wardrobe for the soul, and I love that you say words cast spell, and that's, to me, why they say it's spelling, right? You're spelling something.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the translation of abracadabra, the Hebrew translation, like the magic, when someone says abracadabra, the actual translation is, as I speak, so I create.
That's what Carrie's favorite is, abracadabra. She loves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Yes.
So, to answer your question about my quote, like, why that occurred to me, is I realized that our divine nature, our true essence, is boundless. Like, it's really the quintessential expression of pure possibility. It is the infinite, it is the quantum. And then, so that vibratory state of pure potentiality gets expressed in form by virtue of how we collapse quantum into the relative, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what is the relative? Well, it's how we relate. And how do we relate? We relate through language, right? So words are the wardrobe for the soul, meaning that the words create the container, the form in which that which is boundless starts to manifest.
Mm-hmm.
So literally, as you get up in the morning, you create your own existence. You literally writing it on your arm, which is beautiful. For somebody else, they're picking out their wardrobe, whether it's a uniform, that they have to, quote unquote, fall in line with because that's what's expected at their place of employment, or somebody else, they're a fashionista. And so the way they express with their wardrobe gives rise to a different experience of their potentiality.
Right.
Excuse me. But ultimately, the way that we relate to ourselves in our identity and our personas is with these deep constructs that are really formed in the subconscious with this languaging, no different than code on a piece of technology, like the laptops that we use, like they have programming in that give rise to the software that we interact with. Mm-hmm. So the potentiality of an operating system, we could argue, is boundless, depending on its speed and its capacity. Obviously, technology evolves, and you buy a laptop today, it has a far greater possibility than one that we would have bought 20 years ago. Right. Nonetheless, that potentiality, whatever it is, gets expressed through the languaging that is used in terms of, let's say you open up iTunes. You don't open iTunes on your laptop and get frustrated that you can't edit your photos, right? Like that would make no sense. Like, because that's going to be done in Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, right? Mm-hmm. But both of those programs, they have completely different functionality, wardrobes, but based on the language that was used to create them.
Yes.
So a good coder could go in there, and if you didn't like the interface of, say, Photoshop, and you wanted it to be a particular customized style, a good programmer could go in there and make it to your bespoke choice, right? Mm-hmm. So likewise, for me, you could say I'm sort of a programmer of the subconscious. I'm coding people's identities by revealing what's already there that's dysfunctional. Why are you getting sick? Why are you not earning the livelihood you think you warrant? Why are your relationships not full of love and passion? Well, it's because of your current programming. So if you want to have the abundance and the infinite experience of your true divine nature, then we have to remove the confined programming and replace it with what actually is less of a replacement and more of a revealing of the inherent program that's there already. So hence words of the wardrobe for the soul. And unfortunately, most people are wearing pretty shitty clothing.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode, you guys. If you loved it, please share it on your social. Throw it up on your Instagram stories and tag me. I'm at Black Belt Beauty. I am also at Roxy Look, RoxyLook. I love connecting with you guys. This is a conversation that I want to just continue growing with you guys. So if you feel inspired to hit me up, do so in that space. I always enjoy hearing from you. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so by rating it and reviewing it via iTunes. It's such supportive help, you guys. It really helps the visibility of this podcast. So I appreciate and thank you in advance for doing that. And on that note, you guys, I'm signing off with all my love and always looking forward to catching you on the next.